The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We've got Sean and Amy here from National PTA. We're going to get started in just a minute, but we'd like to ask you to fill out just a real quick poll as we get ready to begin here. And you'll see that should have launched on your screen. And it just asks if you have already submitted your grant application or not. And it's just a yes or no answer. So if you could take a minute and do that, and we're going to get started right at 3:01. All right, we're going to close the poll in just about another 10 seconds or so, just so that everyone can see our screen. So if you haven't voted yet, and don't worry if you don't get a chance to vote, it was just to give us a sense of who's on the call. We're going to close it just so we can go back to sharing our screen. All right, welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is the 2017 National PTA STEM+Families Math Grants sponsored by Mathnasium webinar. That's quite a mouthful, we know. And we're really excited to have we've got about 180 people signed up, and we know that people are still filtering in. We're really excited to have all of you with us today. And we're going to do an overview. We'll take some questions at the end. But before we do that, we'd like to tell you a little bit about who we are.
Hi everybody, my name is Amy Weinberg. I'm the Associate Manager of Programs and Partnerships here at National PTA. I'm relatively new to this position, very, very happy to be here with you all today. A little bit about myself, I obtained my master's in teaching, so I have vast experience both in the classroom as well as in educational management and program development. And you can see a picture of me here with my adorable 5-year-old Eliana, I'm not biased, and my rising kindergartner. In addition to her love of sugar, as seen here, she is an avid artist, drawing lots and lots of birds these days. Just a little bit about me.
And Amy's co-presenter here, I'm Sean Arthurs. I'm a Senior Manager of Education Initiatives here at the National PTA. And I have a background as a teacher and a lawyer, and I'm very interested in thinking about how to scale and how to spread education programming across the country. At the moment, the biggest item in my portfolio is the STEM+Families and everything we're doing with that. I'm very excited about that. At the bottom, you can see a picture of me. On the left of your screen, that is me trying to, I'm sure, settle some people down in a classroom, perhaps encourage some critical thinking. And there are the two little people who keep me honest, Catherine and Keegan. I'm a proud PTA dad and have, at the moment, looking forward to a rising 4th grader and 5th grader. We would also like to just take a moment to briefly introduce, we have two folks from Mathnasium on the line. That's our sponsor for these grants. We're very excited to have them with us. They're actually coming in quickly from their own national convention that's going on at the same time. So we don't have pictures, unfortunately, but we do. Very delighted to have Carrie Keller and Erica Upshur, who have been wonderful partners. And I think they're going to take a minute and just address us briefly now.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Amy. Hi, everybody. It's Carrie Keller. I am from Mathnasium. I am a marketing manager, and I am the liaison with Mathnasium with PTA. We are thrilled to be part of the STEM+Families initiative, and the fact that we get to work with you and your teams in all parts of the country. This is really, really exciting for us, and we're looking forward to seeing how we can develop great math nights where everybody can have fun, learn a little bit, and enjoy each other's company. Thanks for being here. And unfortunately, Erica did not make it up here, so I'm going to just turn it back over to the team.
Thanks, Carrie. And now Amy's just going to line us up.
Great. Well, the goal of this webinar today is to provide you with the information that you need to apply for and execute a successful math event at your elementary school. We're going to talk all about the process, which is an easy one, and National PTA and Mathnasium are with you every step of the way to ensure that you have everything you need for this wonderful opportunity. So in a little bit more detail, our agenda today. First, we're going to briefly discuss our STEM+Families initiative and the partnership we have with Mathnasium. Then we'll provide an overview of the math event itself, including the goals, steps in hosting a successful math night, and some of the resources provided. Hopefully this will give you a good picture of what it looks like to have a math event at your school. Next, we'll discuss the details of the math grants themselves, from the application process to the selection process and eligibility requirements, and we'll leave lots of time at the end to answer questions that you might have.
Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit of housekeeping on GoToWebinar for people who may not be familiar with it or might not have as much experience with it as they would like. And hopefully, so first of all, hopefully everyone is seeing our screen. On our screen at the moment, you'll see a GoToWebinar, you'll see the dashboard, and then with the STEM+Families logo at the bottom. You should also be hearing our voices. If you are not hearing the voices, there's an opportunity as well. You can dial in using your phone, and you would have gotten instructions on how to do that in the email you received when you registered. But hopefully you can also get sound through your computer speakers if anyone's doing that. At the moment, we are not able to hear any of you, and that's because we have about 80 attendees at the moment, and we might be going as high as 150. So we just wanted to avoid sort of the background noise to make sure everyone is hearing us clearly. Everybody is on mute. At the end of the presentation, if there are questions or if there's any comments that need to be spoken, we're hoping that you'll be able to write them. You'll see a little box on the side of your GoToWebinar screen, your dashboard. You'll see it circled there in red, and you can type any questions you would like. Now, those are questions that only the organizers, Amy, myself, Carrie, can see. So don't worry about grammar or anything, don't worry about how you're framing it or capitalization, anything like that. We will take those questions, and then we'd like to, we're going to identify trends, and we're going to do our best to answer all of those questions at the end, and we'll share out the information with everybody. You will also see a little icon. That's where the yellow square is, and that is identifying, if you have something that you would like to share at the end, or if we're calling on people, you can raise your hand there. So that's just talking a little bit about the GoToWebinar platform. Again, everybody's on mute at the moment. If you have any questions, type them in the question box, and those just go to Amy and myself, and we will be scrolling through those and responding at the end of the webinar. All right. So now a little bit of background about STEM+Families. What is STEM? What is the STEM+Families initiative? About a year and a half ago, the National PTA, under our then president, Laura Bay, decided that the importance of STEM, both to our students and to their families, to our country, to our economy, and the gross discrepancies we were seeing, especially with STEM outreach and opportunities with underserved populations, with female populations, with children of color, we decided it was a problem that the PTA prioritized and wanted to tackle. And as you may know, STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And we would argue that it's more than a flavor of the month. I know the term STEM has been bantied around a lot lately. You've probably heard it in lots of different contexts. And we think, though, that STEM and the skills and thinking that go into it are applicable across a wide range of careers, pursuits, thinking. It's something that can interest any student. But you know what? Sometimes it gets a bad rep. And that's one of the things that our initiative, STEM+Families, is designed to correct. So as well as seeking to work with groups that are traditionally underrepresented, we are also seeking to help students know more about STEM careers and to know more about opportunities in STEM, including educational opportunities. We know that there will be a huge number of STEM jobs opening up, high paid, and not all of them require college degrees. And we know that these can be in many exciting areas where students are naturally curious. And we know that with the right supports and encouragement, we can help all our students have access to these and have the choice of entering STEM instead of, being discouraged or losing interest or thinking it's something they can't do, for anything from not knowing the right classes or not knowing that there are careers involving STEM. So the STEM plus Families initiative, we're focusing on science, technology, engineering, and math here at the PTA. And what we bring that a lot of the other providers, almost no one else out there is doing the STEM with family engagement. And I think everyone knows that family engagement is the hallmark of the PTA and our efforts to do programming around the country. So we're trying to figure out, how are we doing STEM plus families? How are we involving students and their families in STEM undertakings, STEM experiments, STEM education, STEM careers? So one of the first areas that we're working in is with math.
So to give you some specifics about these math nights, let's outline what they are. The National PTA and Mathnasium Partnership supports student success in STEM education by awarding 35 PTAs $1,000 each to host one STEM plus Families math event with students and families at their elementary schools this fall. National PTA and Mathnasium will provide awardees with all the materials and training and support needed for a successful math event, and no prior math experience is needed. The activities provided by Mathnasium are turnkey and easy to execute. Furthermore, as Sean said, the goals here are family engagement. First and foremost, the PTA way is engaging families in a fun, enjoyable, shared math experience with their children. The goals are also to help kids explore math at their own levels through fun, interactive games and activities, and empower kids of all backgrounds to become interested in STEM education and careers. The last goal is to co-host events with Mathnasium in elementary schools across the country. We've gotten some questions about that one. So don't worry, if you don't have a Mathnasium near you in your territory, we still encourage you to apply. Mathnasium provides all the activities, and National PTA is available for any questions. So even without being close to a Mathnasium, apply regardless of your location and resources. We'll make sure that you have everything you need for a successful event. Awardees for the grant will be provided access to an online toolkit from our website to host a successful event. These tools will be provided in sequence under each chronological step in the process. First, making connections, planning your event, promoting your event, hosting your event, and wrapping up your event. Tools such as a planning checklist, a volunteer sign-up form, and tips for promotion will be provided. Once awardees are chosen, we'll host another webinar to further outline the steps in the process and the tools that are available from National PTA. So don't fret, tools, resources, and templates will be available at pta.org/STEM/math. Those resources will be coming soon.
And to be clear, those resources are going to be available to everyone. We've got a very exciting component to this grant that we're going to discuss a little bit later on, or maybe I'll just give a little preview of it right now, where Mathnasium franchisees were very excited about the chance to partner with PTAs and do math nights. And they said, you know what, even if there's a local PTA and they don't win one of these $1,000 grants, we might be interested in partnering with the PTA, and we might be able to help out with some funding and some games for a math night on our own. So all the resources that we're going to be putting, the whole toolkit, will be available on our website, and that'll be available to grant winners and anyone who's interested in hosting a math night. And I think Amy is going to show us a sample of a flyer that a local PTA did. This is an example of something that would be in the toolkit, because our goal with this toolkit is going to be to make the process as easy as possible for you to host a math night.
Great. So like Sean said, this is a actual flyer that one of our elementary schools, Holland Meadows Elementary School, right here in Virginia, used to host their math night. We know how successful these can be because we piloted 3 of them, and they went off just beautifully. The Holland Meadows PTA put on an amazing event with over 220 people in attendance. This flyer highlights the community partnerships that they made, as well as the incentives that they provided for their event. So you can see that they had food and goodie bags and door prizes, even a gift card for the first 25 families to register. This flyer was distributed widespread throughout the school and translated in Spanish to promote the event and encourage attendance. And I was fortunate enough to attend, and you can see these pictures that I took, seeing the kids interact with their families and the games. It was a really cool experience. Next, we'll show you what Mathnasium put together, a great video that shows you more about what it looks like to host a math night.
Yeah, there's no substitute for being at one of these math nights, and I was fortunate to attend 2 of them. And it's great when the feedback you get on the evaluations we gave at the end, the feedback was do more of these, or should have been longer, or I wish I knew about this earlier. In fact, with the Holland Meadows, the flyer that we're showing, Holland Meadows was a great pilot. Their PTA, amazing, their school community, they got the principal and teachers to attend. A week and a half before the event, we talked to Holland Meadows and said, hey, how many people do you think are going to come based on your sign up? And they were saying, well, we think 75 to 80, but word is spreading. And sure enough, on the day of, there were 220 people showed up. That's how many people were interested. That's how great the publicity was. People want to know about STEM. They want to do fun math games. But as Amy said, don't take our word for it. We'd like to show you a video.
We're really excited to be here tonight. We've been working with this partnership for PTA for about a year, but this is kind of where it all comes together. Hi, I'm Sandra. How are you?
Sorry about that. We wanted to restart it and also clarify that these are actual pilots that we did this spring.
We're really excited to be here tonight. We've been working with this partnership for PTA for about a year, but this is kind of where it all comes together. Hi, I'm Sandra. How are you?
The turnout here is great. We've had over 200 people. We ran out of pizza. Great night. Kids are having a great time.
Come on, you want to play? You got the board. If we do this next year, I definitely come and support the school. We learn lots of fun things about math in a fun way.
We've got kids running all over the place, having a great time with their parents in math, and we just couldn't be more excited about it. So this is the first one, so it should only get better from here, and so it should really become a great thing.
It's a math night in a box. A really easy turnkey way to take advantage of the relationship that we have with the PTA and have a great event with the school near you.
So to clarify, these were 2 of the events, one in Los Angeles and one in Florida that we actually held this spring, where PTAs put on the math night with the support of Mathnasium folks. As a general reminder to folks that I think some people may know, this webinar is being recorded. So if we speak too quickly on anything, or if you're having trouble sleeping and want to have us have our drift off to the sounds of our voices, you can do that. Also, that video will be embedded. We're happy to share any of this PowerPoint with you if that helps. You can we're going to have an email address at the end. I mean, our goal is to support as many PTAs as possible that would like to do a math night. All right, let's run through some of the nuts and bolts. who can apply? Who can apply for one of our 2017 National PTA STEM+Families math grants sponsored by Mathnasium? So to be eligible, and most of these are just kind of a quick check mark, but I do want to go over them just in case there's any questions. Be a PTA in good standing. Commit to engaging families and students in math learning activities, right? As we talked about, this is what PTAs, this is what we do so well. This is what is our unique advantage. This is what we bring that nobody else does. We do STEM plus families. The PTA, if you're going to apply for one of these grants, you must be willing to welcome the local Mathnasium folks. And as Amy mentioned earlier, even if there's not a local Mathnasium near you, you should still apply for the grant. That is not a bar. We can host all sorts of PTAs that want to have math nights. But if you do have a Mathnasium near you, they are actually going to be willing to come into your school and help staff those tables and help staff the math table games. We'll still want PTA volunteers, of course, but we'll get some Mathnasium folks there who can help explain and help work with you around what the math games are at each of the tables. You got to gain volunteer support. You know, that's recruiting our local PTA people and bringing in parents, family members, adults. And then the last thing is we are going to require that folks turn in evaluation results. And the reason is because we want to keep making this better. You know that we've done 3 pilots already. We've learned a lot, but we know there's a lot more to learn because we want to keep helping PTAs have better and better STEM plus families nights and better math nights. So we're going to ask that you turn in evaluation results. All right, let's cover a couple of dates, always critical. August 31st is the last day for applications, and it will be a $1,000 grant. That is the grant that each PTA can gain. We will let you know by September 15th. We know that's a tight turnaround, but the reason we're doing that is so that you can plan for your fall event, because your fall event, your math night, has to happen between October 1st and December 15th. Now, this is where I'd like to highlight, if you're looking at this right now and you're saying, ooh, that's really hard, I don't have the time or the day to do it, or a school has a math event in February or March, we've gotten some questions about that already. Don't worry. This is where we're really excited. Mathnasium, a lot of their franchisees said, you know what? If a PTA applies and they can't hold a math, they don't win one of the grants, or if they can't do it in the right time frame, I might be interested in working with them. So what we're going to encourage, and I know that there are a lot of boxes on the application where most people check they would be interested in working with Mathnasium even if they don't get a grant. We would put you in touch with your local Mathnasium and you could see if you could work one out together. And like we said, the local Mathnasium might be willing to help support with math games, maybe some prizes, maybe help out cover food costs, but definitely help with the math knowledge, right? I mean, I know a lot of people get intimidated by math, and a lot of parents even, we know, are a little bit loath to participate in something when they see they have to coordinate a math table. Well, we're going to have the Mathnasium experts come in and help with all the math. The PTAs do what we do best. We host, we convene, we welcome all sorts of families. We make it a great, safe learning environment for families and all students. All right. And then you will turn in your data to us after that. If you, as I mentioned earlier, if you do not live near or if your school is not near a Mathnasium, that is not a bar, you are still eligible. And we're actually going to go over the grant application. And I know that many of you, we actually saw that only probably about 10% of people so far have turned in their applications. So doing a quick review of what the application. Now again, the application can be found by going to pta.org/STEM/math. Let me just show you that page quickly. So if you go to pta.org/STEM/math, you'll see there's the video we just showed you. You will also see apply now. See this big button right in the middle, and that will take you to this grant right here. Now we have made this grant application as simple as we could, and the reason we did that is because we want lots of people to apply, and we want to focus on what the critical information is. This is also available, by the way, in Spanish. We definitely would like Spanish-speaking communities and Spanish schools with high Spanish-speaking populations to be able to apply. And if anyone needs other languages, please let us know, and we will do our absolute best to get it translated into other languages. So here is the application. And so there's a little bit of information. Here are the dates on here. No prior math experience. I'm just going to scroll down quickly because it asks for things that you know, your PTA name, your unit number. Then it asks for your name, school name, demographic. Here are the 3 narrative questions. And this is really what our team of reviewers, we're going to have a blind team of reviewers, in the sense of blind meaning it's not Amy or I, it's no one who's had contact with PTAs, so they won't know. There'll be no favorites played. And they're going to look at what you write in these 3 questions. And if you see, these questions are very short, 100 words, 250 words, 250 words. We want to know why this would be valuable. We want to know how are you going to make sure adults are engaged with their kids. Remember, this is STEM plus families. And then 3 ways you would promote it. So once you do those 3 narrative questions, this is the bonus question at the end. You see the yes, no, thumbs up. If you're not awarded a grant, so everyone knows that there are 35 grants worth $1,000 each. If you're not awarded one of those, would you still like a local Mathnasium representative to contact you? And we've mentioned this several times. So everybody on the webinar, if you are interested in hosting a math night, hopefully, 35 lucky winners will receive a $1,000 grant, but everyone else might be able to do it with the support of their local Mathnasium. And the reason to be honest, the reason I keep saying might and we're not sure is because we need to contact, we can't guarantee anything from every individual Mathnasium franchisee. We don't know their calendar, we don't know their resources, their commitments, their staffing. But we have had, and Carrie, I think, and Erica have spoken about how there's a lot of enthusiasm from local franchisees. So I think we're going to get a lot of interest from local franchisees to help PTAs do an event, even if they don't get one of the grants. All right. Once you finish filling out this information, click this little button, Finish, on the bottom here. And again, that's got to happen by Thursday, October 31st at 8 p.m. Eastern. We will then begin reviewing. We'll begin it the very next day. We'll check those eligibility requirements, make sure your PTA in good standing. We will then let you know within about 2 weeks who the big grant winners are. And then we will also, as you know, the toolkit will be available online. And then we'll begin planning the event. One suggestion I might have, and I think as a lot of experienced PTA leaders know, getting on the calendar, getting on the school calendar and the PTA calendar can be a bit of a challenge. And especially when you're saying, if I don't know until September 15th, that's a little bit late. So I might suggest if you go ahead and talk to your school now and see if you can get a date. And you can tell them it's a tentative date. And you can tell them that, we're hoping for confirmation. And maybe what you can do is once we let people know who wins the grants on September 15th, if you're not one of those grant winners will already have a date. And if you're not one of those grant winners, you could reach out to your local Mathnasium very quickly. All right. So this is the application. It's online. You just hit submit here and then boom, submitted. All right. We have covered talked about the application, talked about the narratives, talked about the commitment to the eligibility requirements. We've talked about the Spanish language. We've talked about how the review is going to be by people who have no connection to PTAs, so you can ask us questions, you can ask us for help, anything. We are, I'd like to say that we are accepting bribes, but unfortunately we are not allowed to do that at the PTA. All right, so to recap, you can see apply now through August 31st, pta.org/STEM. We also have a web page that has more about Mathnasium and how to host a math event, pta.org/STEM/math. And we're actually going to close our presentation there. You can see in the bottom left, we've got a picture of, that's the Holland Meadows crew. With some of the PTA folks in there, and then in the top right, we've got I believe that is the Beavis, Florida Math Nights, where we were. That is, I think that's me drawing. Oh no, that's also Holland Meadows. That's me drawing prizes at the end. We had some wonderful prizes that we shared with the students. We had some Think Fun games that we shared with the students at the end. Okay, we're now going to open the floor for questions. So if you would type in a question, what we'll do is we'll read it aloud and answer it. All right. So we'll run through these quickly. Oh, our school has hosted a math night through Mathnasium. How different is this program? Well, and I won't read anyone's name just to respect anonymity. Not that there's anything wrong with any of these questions, but our school has hosted a math night through Mathnasium. These math nights are actually going to be quite different because Mathnasium, and maybe Carrie, I can ask you to chip in if you're still on the line, that Mathnasium actually developed a whole new program for the pilot events in this program with PTA. And let's see if Carrie's there and has a chance to speak on that for a second. I know she's at her convention, so she's busy, but Carrie, are you still on?
I'm still here. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great.
Great. So yeah, we have had a number of franchisees in their different centers reaching out, trying to work with the STEM initiative, working on STEM on their own, doing math nights on their own. But as Sean mentioned, we have developed this program specifically in partnership with you, the PTA, to make sure that these programs work in schools, that they work in a certain time frame, that they're developed with certain age groups in mind, specifically elementary, with specific games that are played to meet the needs of different grade levels and ability levels. It's a very turnkey way to do this, and we're now releasing this to all of our franchisees from a corporate headquarters standpoint, so it's very consistent across the board. There have been efforts from other franchisees, and they've done a great job in previous times. This is just to add to that and to make it consistent under the STEM+Families initiative.
All right. Thanks, Carrie. So we're getting a couple of questions. As we mentioned, a couple of people are asking, this webinar is recorded. We are happy to share a copy of the presentation. You can just email us at that email, programs@pta.org. Maybe put in the subject line, request for a copy of the 2017 National PTA STEM+Families Math Grants, or something like, you can do it shorter than that. We'll know what you mean. And we're happy to send it out with you. Very good question about the age range for these events. And at the moment, this is definitely an event targeted at elementary school students. I know Mathnasium does math tutoring at all levels, but at the moment, the games and math activities, there's a very, Mathnasium has done a lot of working, with students' developmental ages and levels and their experiences with math and what they're able to understand and comprehend and how to get kids engaged and what type of math each student is learning. And so these events are definitely targeted at elementary school kids. We're hoping in the future to perhaps move into middle school and high school, but at the moment, these are definitely elementary school.
A couple of questions here on the timeline. Again, those key dates. So you want to make sure that you get your application in by August 31st. That's our deadline. August 31st is the last time that we'll take applications for the grant. And those applications will be, awardees will be notified by September 15th of who was awarded the grants. The October date is when we would expect PTAs to host their math event. So the key dates for hosting a math event would be between October 1st and December 15th. So get those applications in by August 31st.
Thanks, Amy. I feel like I must have misspoken about, because there were a couple of people inquiring if it was October 31st, the deadline. So I think I misspoke. So thanks for clarifying that, Amy. Absolutely. It is August 31st applications are due. We have a good question about applications. How many applications were received last year? Guess what? The answer to that one I can answer in a very crystal clear fashion. None. This is the first year we've done this grant. We have a partnership with Mathnasium that goes back almost 2 years. But last year we were doing the pilot events and developing what these math nights would look like. So this is the first year that we're opening this up. Very proud to have 35 grants to do the math night sponsored by Mathnasium. So we had another question about once you've submitted your application, can you go back in and adjust? What we would ask you to do there is you can submit a second application. We're not asking people to do this on a regular basis, but if there's something you realize that was very significant that you omitted, you may go back in and adjust, submit a new application, but then make sure you email us so we delete your first application. Okay. And we had a question about the narratives as well. Some of the advice that we would give, I mean, think of the keywords that we've been repeating in this webinar. Serving communities and families that are typically underserved in STEM, especially girls, children of color, and low-income communities. That's definitely a priority for the National PTA. Also, if you can tell us, do you have some great ways that you've done promotion in the past and great ways that you get families engaged? I mean, that's what we're looking for, right? This is not a night, and I think everyone understands this, but this is not a night where kids come and they play games while parents, sit in the corner and we look at our phones or we catch up with each other, which, we all need those moments from every now and then. But this is not what's going to happen on our math nights. This is families and kids going from table to table, working on, we have 9 or 10 stations with Mathnasium, and there's 9 or 10 different games. We found that food is a very helpful recruiting tool. I think everybody knows that.
So one of the questions is, it made me laugh a little. What strings are attached to the $1,000 grant? And I want to say that there are none. I mean, really, this is your opportunity to use these funds to promote and engage your families in the best way that you can. So we saw Holland Meadows use their funding in a really beautiful way. We're working on creating a sample budget so you can have an idea of how they organize their costs, but this is a chance for you to use those funds again to get as many families involved here as possible. Again, if Mathnasium's not with you, you may need to use some of your grant funding to get some supplies, but really it is the money is yours.
Yeah, and this is where I have to chime in as the former lawyer, because I can think of lots of things at the PTA we wouldn't be able to give you the money to do, but nothing within the realm of what you're thinking of. So I agree with Amy, the general spirit. I mean, obviously there are some things that the funds are not designed to go towards. Guns, alcohol, tobacco. I think this goes without saying, though. This is why, this is the lawyer in me again, right? Providing for every externality. But in terms of what you can do with it, as Amy mentioned, it really is, we give you a lot of discretion. So we have seen people do a lot with food. We've seen people get buses if some of their children or families are located, not in a walking distance of the school. Translation services, maybe having a translator on site. Maybe paying a translator to help do some of the promotional materials, translate that. Sometimes school districts have done that for free, or a local community liaison has done that for free. If you want to supplement the prizes, I think you saw Holland Meadows offer Dunkin' Donuts gift cards to the first 25 people to register to start that process. They got a lot more people registered, but they certainly got 25 people registered very quickly. We've seen some schools gave small gift cards, $10 or $20 to teachers who could attend, because we all know teachers are incredibly overworked, have a lot of commitments going on their plate, and asking them to stay an extra couple of hours after school or stay until 8 o'clock and do more math with kids when they might have families of their own or just want a little bit of downtime, that's an extra burden. So giving them a small token, just, hey, here's a $20 gift card, thanks for coming, that's something you can do. We've seen in Beavis, Florida, they did an ice cream bar to encourage people to come.
And I will encourage you to get your community involved. At Holland Meadows, they had a local church come to volunteer to help run the activities, as well as I think it was Kohl's, wasn't it? So they had a local store come in as well. So get those volunteers on board and save costs wherever you can. This is a great opportunity to get the community involved in the PTA way.
Yeah, we're getting some questions around what exactly is elementary. We would definitely, 4th through 6th, absolutely. We would say first graders, sometimes it's a little challenging to get them to engage fully with with all the games, but we certainly welcome them in, and we've had some success. So this is a K to 6. If you're a K to 6 school, if you're part of that, if you're a K to 3, if you're a 4 to 6, that's really what we're saying when we're talking about elementary school. Attendance targets for the event, minimum, maximum, whatever you can hold. And we would caution, one of the great lessons from Holland Meadows, we were so excited to see 220 people, but that cafeteria was bursting at the seams. And we were all happy. It was great. But it just meant that we in the middle of the event, we rolled out some new tables. The local Mathnasium folks had some extra Connect 4 games we were able to set up there. You saw at the Academy of Enriched Sciences, one of our first pilots in Los Angeles, they actually ran out of pizza because they had so many people come. So it really is, it's the kind of thing that we think there's a hunger, there's an appetite out there for these nights. And if you can promote it through room parents, through the school, through the teachers, you're going to get a lot of people who want to come. In terms of the maximum is really whatever your capacity is in the room, and what you can you want to provide food and prizes, and you want to make sure you've got enough volunteers to staff the games at the table. Once you're in touch with your local mathnasium, you'll be able to give them an estimate, and if you tell them, hey, we might have 200 people here, they're going to bring more games. They're going to arrange for more math activities at the tables.
And we'll provide you with a kind of a sketch of what it would look like to set up your room. But it's always good to have a plan B. Like at Holland Meadows, when they had more people than expected, we had to pull out some extra tables. So just, keep in mind that you may have more than registered, and, get as many volunteers on board as you can. So you can host as many people.
You do not have to be a Title I school to qualify. There is going to be, full disclosure, there will be a certain percentage of grants awarded to Title I schools, just like there would be for geography. For example, I love my Texas schools. I'm actually headed down there to talk more about STEM and families this weekend, including about this grant. But it wouldn't really be fair to everyone if we gave all 35 grants to Texas schools. I'm sure there's many 35 deserving Texas schools. So we are going to try to get some geographical diversity, as well as some Title I schools mixed in there. We're getting some questions about, do we have other nights going on? And the answer to that is yes, soon. At the moment, we are offering the math grants. Sometime this fall, we will be announcing science grants with another one of our partners, one of our founding sponsors and partners, Bayer, in the STEM+Families initiative. We're going to be launching some science grants. So at the moment, we just have math nights. We will be offering science nights. Please keep watching the pta.org/STEM page for those. So we're getting a lot of questions, still some questions around grade level, middle schools. And we're really feeling that this is the materials, this is not meant to exclude. It's just, we're trying to match the materials we have up with what we know about kids' cognitive development, about their ability to engage with concepts, about what keeps them engaged. We don't want things that are too simple. And, we're strongly encouraging K to 6 as the range here. I know we're getting, some people said elementary school can go up to 8th grade. We certainly would say to apply, but I just want to be, we want to foreground that we're thinking this is a K to 6. That's really our target audience for this one.
There's been a few questions about adding more content to the evening, like what if we wanted to do some science and engineering stuff as well. I would say that our agenda was packed. We went overtime. It was hard to wrap up the evening. We had so much fun doing the math event itself that I would really try to focus on the Mathnasium games and activities that you have available. It kept everybody engaged for so long. So I wouldn't mix in other content to the night. I'd really focus there on that math.
Yeah, there's going to be about 9 or 10 math stations. And we found that, just moving between those stations, as well as if the kids are doing food and some prizes at the end, this is going to be strictly, the grants are strictly for math nights. Again, this is not to say that the other parts of STEM are not important. We are, like I said, we are moving towards having science nights, and we're hopeful for engineering and tech down the road. But the focus of this effort, and there's 35 grants, to repeat again, because we're getting some questions around that. There are 35 grants available this year. And it's to the focus of the event of your math night should be just on the math, just working with the Mathnasium folks. Please feel free to forward this webinar and the PowerPoint if you email us to anyone else who did not attend. Again, as long as they meet the eligibility requirements, they're a PTA person. If you're not a member of the National PTA, you don't have to be a member of the National PTA. You just have to be a PTA in good standing with your state PTA. And so if somebody has questions about eligibility beyond that, please do email us. We'll try to clarify it for you. We don't want to waste your time on this. Mathnasium will not be providing the interpreters, but we do strongly encourage, as one of our national standards at the PTA, we do strongly encourage welcoming all families. And so, We have had, I've seen different success in one place, in one school district. The school district actually provided a translator. And then there's different ways to do that, getting all the materials translated as well, having a translator walk around with a certain group of families, and there are different ways to engage with that. And I think that a lot of PTAs on the ground, you probably have better experience than I do on it.
Holland Meadows actually employed one of their parent volunteers to translate for them. So that's another great way to get parents involved.
An academy within a school, as long as you're in that K-6 target range, that sounds great. Hawaii is definitely not too far to host a STEM night. In fact, that might be one of the ones that I need to prioritize is going out to see how it works in person. Okay, the 1,000. We're getting a couple more questions about the $1,000. So let me just. I know we've addressed it once, but let me just speak to it again. The $1,000 is for the local PTA. It is for your PTA to help support the event. And if there are no, we're not putting any unreasonable restrictions on it. If you need to rent a facility, if you need to pay for air conditioning, if you need to transportation, translation services, food, cleanup, if you need to pay janitorial staff to come in afterwards, if you want to get extra prizes, if you want to incentivize the teachers to come, if you would like to. Yep.
Food's a great incentive to get people there. Do it. If you do it in the evening around dinner time, grab some pizzas, have a fun food event around it.
Yep. And you do not need to, if you need to pay for copies, you can use that money as well. Mm-hmm. The $1,000 does not go to Mathnasium at all. Mathnasium is going to be coming in and helping operate the math tables, and they have some staff, and they're going to bring the games and materials. And sometimes they even bring in some really cool red dice. Again, each of the Mathnasium franchisees might operate a little bit differently, but the three that we've worked with so far and all the ones we've been in contact with have been incredibly supportive, have brought in door prizes for everybody, little Mathnasium pencils, and that might differ from site to site, but we know that Mathnasium is a huge supporter, big proponent of our partnership, and all their franchisees really excited to work with you. Okay, the selection process, we're getting it around. Is it a blind process? The selection process will be a blind process with the caveat that there will be parameters put. There will be a certain percentage Title I schools, and there will be some geographical diversity. I hope that answers it. So the review process, the review team that we have will not have access to any of that information. But again, we said at the end, if we get 35 schools from Texas or 35 schools from one state, what we'll do is we'll take the top highest scoring schools from that state. Maybe we'll take 3 or 4, and then we would move on to another state. We would like to see a lot of diversity in our states.
Yeah, but focus on those narratives. That's where we're going to get the bulk of our selection. So really focus in on why your students and families are deserving of this.
Getting a question, how do you find out if there's a local Mathnasium in your area? So first, let's say that there does not have to be a local Mathnasium in your area for you to apply. But to find out if there is a local Mathnasium, you go to mathnasium.com, and they have a locator service where you can look up and see where the local Mathnasium is. What methods did Holland Meadows? So this is a question specifically about the wonderful team at Holland Meadows and how they promoted their event. And I do want to speak to this one in particular because I know Holland Meadows, they went out with their PTA email. They posted it on their Facebook page. I know a lot of us are doing social media these days. They also got teachers to send home flyers, and they also got room parents to work with the teachers to answer to students. I believe they also had somebody standing out speaking to students who rode the bus in. Their community liaison was promoting the event, as well as their community liaison who was responsible for interacting with Spanish-speaking families. So to make sure that it really was, the documents were translated, but also to make sure it was orally communicated and reinforced. So it really is the kind of thing where the more different avenues and venues, and this is what we think local PTAs, that's what local PTAs do so well, right? You know how to get families to events, and I think the first thing, right, is food is always huge. But there's any sort of different media you can have for communicating.
I think they had something go out from their principal's office as well. So if you can get your school administration on board and figure out how they communicate, work together in that effort, that's always great too. We did have a question about the email address. So if you do have any questions or comments or concerns, feel free to reach out to programs@pta.org.
Yep. The 35 grants are for the entire United States. And in fact, if we have any of our PTAs on Department of Defense schools in Europe, you may also apply. It's for anyone that is if you are a registered PTA. And it is not just for Virginia. How many applicants will there be for these grants? We will disclose that we have about 130 applicants in right now. So we're very excited about that. But what I want to emphasize again is that even if you don't get the grant, and if you check the button on your application, we will be happy to put you in touch with your local mathnasium. We're going to work with our mathnasium colleagues, Carrie and Erica. We'll put you in touch with your local mathnasium, and we have seen a lot of enthusiasm from local mathnasium franchisees to help you do a math night, even if you don't get a grant. I mean, I think that was one of the reasons why National PTA really excited to work with mathnasium on this.
We got a question about the timeline of the event itself. We at Holland Meadows, I can just speak to that one since I was there. It started at 6:30 and ended at 8 o'clock, and we definitely would have, I think, benefited from a little bit more time in there. So maybe a 2-hour event would be my suggestion.
Yeah, I think probably 2 hours is a good idea. We're getting a couple of questions around high-level objectives. So this fits into the National PTA STEM+Families long-term strategy, right, which is around promoting access and understanding of STEM careers and opportunities, especially amongst underserved youth. Now, there are benefits to a one-off event. I mean, something like this is why it's key to get families involved. There's some research out there. There's a lot of research out there showing that when students do something with their families, it both shares with the family member how much a student enjoys an event, enjoys math, and the parents or the adults can see their potential. And it also helps the parent or adult know in the future to encourage those interests in their child. So yes, at the moment, these are one-night grants. But something else I want to tell you that we're delighted about with our partnership with Mathnasium is that at the end of each of the 3 pilot nights, the local PTA person and the local Mathnasium franchisee were already in touch saying, how can we do another one of these in the spring or in the fall? In other words, this could lead to a lasting PTA and local Mathnasium math night that you could be hosting at your school. Again, that's going to depend on the particular interactions. I don't want to make any guarantees or speak for Mathnasium or speak for the local franchisees, but I do know that we've interacted with 3 wonderful franchisees so far, and the PTA leaders were already in touch with them asking, hey, would you be interested in coming back? And the Mathnasium franchisee is very excited to do that. Open house style agenda. Okay, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about the agenda. We're getting a few questions around this. Generally speaking, what we've seen is, the doors, this might be a 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. event. The doors would open at 6, and we've seen different structures. Again, we defer to the local PTA for what's best, but sometimes they've offered food in the beginning or a separate sort of cordoned off food area while the math night is going on. And that depends on how you feel when the timing of your event is. If when you offered an ice cream social, that was open all night. And then there's another area, typically in a cafeteria or a wide open space, where you've got 10 stations set up. So, 10 cafeteria tables. And at each of those tables, there is going to be a Mathnasium game that is going to help families and children do math together. You saw some of them in the video. Go back and look at the video if you'd like again. I mean, there are all sorts of heads up and card games and dice games and guessing multiplication games. All these fun ways to learn math. And there are going to be 10 of those scattered around the room. We have recommended, and what we've used so far is students and family members have gotten a passport, and they go around, and when you complete each station, you get a stamp in your passport, and then you're eligible for a drawing at the end of the night if you get all 10 stamps. So in other words, both children and adults That's right. The adults can get prizes too. They have to get their passport stamped. And the children get their passport stamped. And when you turn it in at the end of the night, you're eligible for a prize. Now, this is extrinsic motivation. We're aware that there's research on that cuts both ways. But we have seen the kids, some kids, we've had to remind them, don't forget to get your passport stamped at this station because they're having so much fun. We've also had to, these are great problems, right? These are champagne problems to have. We've had situations where we've had to encourage children and say, hey, you're spending 10 or 15 minutes at this station. You might want to move on to the next one. And they're like, oh, you're right, because they're having such a great time at these stations. And then they go on to the second station and they're having a great time.
So I think we're getting some questions a little bit about like what National PTA brings to the table, and we talked a lot about family engagement, and that's our mission here, is to get those families engaged. In the toolkit that will be provided, we'll provide some ideas, some talking points about the event itself and how to engage families. We'll provide some tips and tools on how to make sure that the families are involved during the evening and after the fact, and how this STEM night can carry on into the future. So that will all be available in the toolkit as well.
Yep. One logistical question around money. So when would you receive the funds if awarded the grant? So on September 15th, when we send out, hey, congratulations, you're one of the 35 grant recipients, we're going to offer you the chance of getting the money through direct bank transfer or through a check. And we have to wait then on you to complete, if you want to send us the bank transfer information, and we need a W-9 just for tax purposes, and we can then cut the check or transfer the funds. Once you receive your grant and you officially accept it, commit to doing all the, yes, we're going to work with Mathnasium and all that, we will send you the funds, and we're going to send $800 right away because we know you might have some upfront expenses and you might need to do things. You might need to book and pay for costs, and then once you complete the evaluations and turn them into us, we will send you a check for the other $200. Getting a couple of good questions, and just a foreground for everybody, we are going to finish at 4 o'clock. But we're available at programs@pta.org for future questions, and this webinar will be recorded, and we can send the PowerPoint out. Or if you're at Texas Launch this weekend or anywhere around National PTA, folks, feel free to ask us. We're getting some really good questions, though, around how do you get parents and family members to engage with kids? And that's a really good question, right? Because a lot of times as parents, we might do the Halloween approach where we push our kids forward to get the candy, we stay at the back. One of the key things is the passport, which we talked about earlier, where parents get passport. A second key strategy has been making sure PTA parents, making sure everybody knows from the beginning, parents are supposed to be doing this with kids. So you mention it when you sign in. You mention it when you register the parent. You mention it when the parent or adult picks up their passport. At the first table where you've got people sitting down to do games, the volunteer, you've got PTA volunteers sitting around saying, hey, why don't you do that with your son, daughter, the child with you, your younger brother, whoever that child is with you. Hey, can you do it with us? And we've got people inviting adults into that space. That's something that we'd love to see that in your narrative. How would you make sure that families are doing this, right? Because been very clear, hopefully, that this is family engagement. Oh my goodness, this is a fabulous question. Special needs community and a tandem room for students with disabilities, absolutely. Would love to work with you on that. We have not done that yet, but would love to. At National PTA, we're 100% committed to that mission and involving all students. We would absolutely work with you on that, and if we develop some materials that we could share with broader grant recipients or broader other PTAs or put in our toolkit, we absolutely would do that. At the moment, we don't have anything developed, but we would love to do that with you. Okay, we've got about 2 more minutes left. Amy and I'll try to get in. I know we're going kind of quickly, but we're trying to get as many questions as we can.
I'm just wondering if there's anything that Carrie would like to add here from the Mathnasium side of things, since we only have about 2 minutes left. Carrie, did you have anything to add from anything we've said or any of the questions asked so far?
I think you've covered it really well. We're just really excited to be doing this with you. I'm trying to think if there's anything that's been missed. We definitely are interested in helping. The last question that came up as far as possible learning issues, those types of things, we're more than happy to delve into that and help develop some things if you have those specific needs. So that's definitely a part of our interest as well. And I do know we are in the middle of our convention here, and we've been speaking to our franchisees about this partnership and these great opportunities that will be coming up this fall. And everyone that I've talked to so far has just been so excited just to partner with you, that they are they're over the moon to talk to you, to listen to you, to get these things into your schools. So make sure you reach out and get the conversation started, because it's going to be a great event.
Two last questions I'll address, and then we'll see if there's any that Amy. One is, if you do, so there's a question around what's the difference between if you're one of the 35 grant winners and you get the $1,000 through this program, or if you reach out individually to your mathnasium. If you're not a grant winner this time, which could just be luck of the draw, if you're not a grant winner this time and you reach out to your local mathnasium, what will the program look like? The program will look identical. So it's the same math night. It's just that, we can't speak on behalf of the franchisees. As Carrie just said, they're incredibly excited. But, there may not be, I doubt that there may not be $1,000 to give you to host the event. So maybe we scale back on food a little bit, and maybe we scale back on some of the prizes. But we rest assured, we've seen these events carried off, like the actual event, including food and prizes, for under $400. So there is a chance to, we don't know. We wanted to give you $1,000 because this was very generously sponsored by Mathnasium. We wanted to make sure $1,000 so there wouldn't be any financial obstacles. If you need to rent space, if you need to do any of the other number, get a translator and get a bus and get food and incentivize your teachers. But we've seen these events carried off for a lot less. The last question I'm going to take is around how do we get teachers and administration on board? Love that question. Very sensitive to the stakeholder. One of the things that we recommend is reach out to them right now. A lot of you know that the relationship with your principal and with your school is what makes the PTA so powerful, and also what helps the school become a more welcoming place for all families. So if you reach out to your principal and say, hey, just want, the National PTA and Mathnasium are offering these grants. We'd like to apply for one for $1,000. If we get it, would you help support a math night? And then you can tell them, the school we would like teachers to attend, but the school would not need to do anything other than provide facilities. And I can't even tell you how the last picture here we're looking at, the gentleman in the red in the picture on the bottom left was the principal of Holland Meadows. He stayed. He and I were moving tables throughout the whole event. He loved, having the principal on board, he loved the event. His students loved the event. His family loved the event. It really brought the whole community together. And we were just, it's one of the reasons we're really excited to launch these 35.
Yeah, and the math teachers were there. They had all the math teachers are there. So start with the people who are already invested.
That's right. And we had math teachers in Florida say, hey, I want to get these games for my classroom because the kids were having so much fun.
Yeah, so just to respect everybody's time, it's a little after 4 o'clock here. Remember, we are available for questions. So email programs@pta.org if you have anything else, or we didn't answer anything. But we got to a lot of them, and thank you so much for your participation and questions. They were great. Feel free to visit pta.org/STEM for more information. And remember that this webinar is recorded. It will be recorded and posted on our website as well.
Yeah, that's right. And give us about a day or so, because it'll be posted on YouTube, the PTA YouTube channel. Give us a day because we need to convert the format. But thank you, everybody, so much for participating. We're really excited to launch this. Please share this webinar. Please apply. And please watch pta.org/STEM. We're going to be having science. We're going to be organizing some science grants on a similar kind of, PTAs host a science night in the fall. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
wonderful Tuesday.